Cool. I think we are live now. Welcome to our Showdown live stream for Thursday at the Farmers Insurance Open. Obviously, feels a little bit weird because it feels like it's Friday tomorrow, even though it's only Thursday. But what we're going to be going over here is all of my favorite picks for tomorrow's single round slate. We'll go ahead and start with a little bit of a review of today's slate. Some of the splits that we saw between these golf courses. And then, of course, we'll hop into the weather and then the player pool for tomorrow. So heading over to Data Golf just to see some of the splits between the morning and the afternoon wave, it became very apparent that the North Course is where we want to be targeting guys in DFS. So first off, not the stadium course. The South Course yesterday played to an average of 0.78 shots gained over par yesterday. It's just shots over par, not shots gained. You can see that there were quite a few holes that played over par. Some of the par fives were still relatively gettable, particularly number 6 ended up playing well under par. But a lot of the water in play, just a lot of the length in general really started to test these guys. Over here at the North Course, you can see it was the complete opposite. 2.9 strokes under par, leading to almost a 4-stroke differential between these golf courses. Of course, if we take a look at the leaderboard down here, you can see a majority of the ceiling rounds yesterday were in fact at the North Course. Billy Horschel's 9 under, Thompson 8 under, Jaeger, even Kevin Tway, all had really solid rounds on the North Course. And while they were solid rounds, they were only 3 or 4 strokes above the field average. That's how good the scoring was over there at the North Course and why we're going to have such an emphasis on it for tomorrow's round. You can still see there were some nice rounds over there at the South Course, including John Rahm, who shot 6 under. You had Luke List get to 5 under. And that's pretty much it, right? You can see Manadi down here at 5, but not many ceiling performances to speak of. So even if somebody goes out there, has their complete game, they're not even going to touch the 7, 8, 9 under mark that the guys were able to yesterday. So we hop over to the projections here in a second. I'm pretty much only targeting guys at the North Course. I don't think there's one person in my player pool from the South Course. Even John Rahm today, I wasn't going to be playing in Showdown on the South Course. It just didn't make sense. Again, you saw his ceiling of all ceilings was 6 under par. I'm heading over to the weather now to talk about some of the implications. Very similar weather to what we saw today. 2, 3, 4 miles an hour during the morning. And you can see in the afternoon, kicking up to right around 7 to 8 miles an hour. We saw the exact same kind of conditions play out today, and it really didn't make all that much impact on the course. So let's go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. You can see if I split this by wave, in the morning, the North Course played to 2.86 strokes under par. In the afternoon, it was actually slightly easier, 2.93. Over in the South Course, you saw it play slightly harder in the afternoon, almost half a stroke harder, which can be expected, right? When the wind gets up there a little bit, it's going to play a little bit more difficult. But it is interesting to note that it seems as if the North Course was unaffected. So tomorrow just further makes it a bigger reason to go and try and play some of these guys on the North Course. Now heading over to the projections, why you guys are here, and there is going to be some mega chalk tomorrow. I mean, just some guys ridiculously owned. You can see right now I have John Rahm at 40.4%, Justin Thomas at 33.5%, and even Dustin Johnson at 27.8%. Of course, all 3 of those guys will be playing on the North Course for tomorrow. All of them went nuclear on the South Course. So that's why they're going to be so chalky. I was on all of them going into the week, so pretty happy about that. They're in very good positions to compete here. But for Showdown tomorrow, unfortunately, going to be extremely high owned. I'm not going to be fading them. All 3 are excellent plays. They're clearly all in good form. People that I was tailing from the beginning of the week, so I'm going to be on them once again. But with this ownership, it's going to be hard to get leverage. It's also going to be hard to try and fade any of them. So for me, I'm just going to be taking these 3 up top and trying to differentiate elsewhere. I just can't really make a stance. I can't make an argument for trying to fade one of these guys, other than the fact that if you want to try and get leverage on the other 2, you probably do need to fade one. I'm probably going to match the field on all 3 of them. You can see as of right now, I have the field taking pretty much at least one of these guys in every single lineup. I mean, Justin Johnson at $9,600 is extremely affordable. And even a Justin Thomas and a John Rahm, because of how soft the pricing can be for a Showdown, not going to be a problem to fit into lineups. So if you want to try and make your lineup a little bit unique, maybe try to take 2 of these guys, right? Take a Dustin Johnson and a Justin Thomas together. They will be popular on their own, but I'm not sure how many people are going to try and fit in 2 into the same lineup. You can see from about Xander Schauffele the whole way down through Brooks Koepka, All of these guys will be on the South Course tomorrow. It's not like I don't think they could put up a decent round, but for Showdown, particularly for some of these large field contests, we're looking for something at least 7, 8 under par tomorrow. And on the South Course, that is just not going to be out there. The next guy in for my player pool is going to be a Scotty Shuffler. Scotty Shuffler makes a whole lot of sense at $8,800. He's a good course fit. He didn't really do anything flashy today. And he's coming in with the lowest ownership of anyone in this range, right? You can see 27%, 33%, 40% up here. And Scotty Shuffler is still playing the North Course, is in the mid-20s, right? A little bit easier to get some leverage there. He's also at a really nice price tag of $8,800. He could have very well been in the mid-9K range. I would have been willing to roster him. Definitely in my player pool. Something to mention with Scotty Shuffler is he tends to be a relatively streaky player as well. He'll go out, have rounds where he only shoots 2, 3 under par at a time, and then he'll spike for a 7, 8 under round. We've seen that time and time again from a Scotty Shuffler. He's one of the youngest players on tour to ever shoot a 59. And I'm not saying he's going to go out and do that tomorrow, but if somebody has a 59 in them, it's certainly worth taking a look at in Showdown contests. Next up, we have Bozal Taurus. He's going to be almost as chalky as some of these other plays up top. That's why I see myself siding towards Scotty Shuffler. It's in that same price range. You can see a $200 difference between Scotty Shuffler and somebody like a Bozal Taurus. And quite frankly, their chances of going out and having a ceiling performance, I have them right about identical, right? So if one's going to come in at half the ownership of the other, going to make it a clear pivot, at least for my GPP pool, especially when I'm taking all these guys up top, right? I'm already taking guys with 30, 40, 30% ownership. To try and take 2 or even 3 of them in the same lineup, probably not the best idea for uniqueness. So he is going to be an unfortunate casualty of the ownership game and will not be in my player pool. Moving on a little bit further, Mark Leishman, somebody I actually have my eye on for the prize picks market, which is something that I'm going to make a video here. And actually, as soon as we get off this live stream, his props like 69.5 over there. I mean, the scoring average was lower than that on the North Course. And Mark Leishman has won at this venue before. He's somebody who fits the course particularly well from out of the rough. So I like him at $8,600. I also like him for Showdown over here on DraftKings. Similar story with Taylor Gooch, right? He's got the around the green game we're looking for. And the main reason I didn't play him this week for my 4-round stuff is the lack of distance. Fortunately, at the North Course, it doesn't matter how long you are. It's only 7,300 yards. Everyone in the field can reach all of these par 5s. And you saw some of the shorter hitters on tour have a lot of success at the North Course today. Billy Horschel, right? Let's go ahead and bring this up, just to give you an idea. Michael Thompson, Steven Yeager, Kevin Tway's a little bit long, but Francesco Molinari, Doug Gim, Ricky Fowler, Tringale, McNeely's a little bit long, but, aside for McNeely and Kevin Tway, all of the guys that played really well on the North Course yesterday weren't very long. So I am willing to give some of these shorter hitters a chance, like a Taylor Gooch. The approach play is there. He's been a solid gainer on Poa Nua for his career as well. So I like for him to bounce back tomorrow. I didn't play him in my 4-round stuff. He went out and had a relatively bad round on the South Course. I think he's going to come in relatively low owned. Patrick Reed, you go to, he's also playing on the North Course. Somebody I faded for my 4-round stuff, but didn't have the best round today. Should come in with relatively low ownership. And of course, because he's also not the best off the tee player, the North Course sets up a lot better for him. Matthew Wolff, another guy I have my eye on for prize picks for the video I'm going to put out here in a little bit. His number is 71.5 for the North Course. And again, if he shoots under par at all, he ends up hitting the over on that for his fantasy points. And he's a bomber off the tee, right? We know he hasn't been in the best recent form. But at the same time, he's coming in with single-digit ownership. He's somebody who has the birdie or better percentage to really pop in a Showdown type of format. I did play him in my 4-round stuff. I believe he shot 1 under at the South Course, which isn't all that bad. I mean, given how he played last week at the American Express, I was expecting a whole lot worse. So I will be on him for Showdown as well. He's only $8,000, which is a complete misprice. He should not only be $8,000. That's for sure. It should probably be right around $9,000 at the very least. Keegan Bradley, similar story. Had a 2 under round today at the South Course. So pretty solid round for Keegan, especially on that hard golf course. He's got the distance off the tee, the approach play that we're looking for. He's also very solid around the green. Top 15 course fit here. I will be on him as well. Joaquin Neiman, also a really solid ball striker playing on the North Course. He didn't have the best round today. He didn't have a bad round either. It was really an average day. by all metrics. But he's got the ball striking the distance that we're looking for. Lanto Griffin, solid course fit, also somebody I'll be looking at. But maybe my favorite play for tomorrow, and this is nuts. So if we go and look at Luke List's shots gained metrics from yesterday, today, I guess, he gained over 4 strokes putting. That never happens. Luke List has never gained, and I mean this, let me look this up just to be sure. He has never gained more than 2.5 strokes in a round putting. And he gained 4 yesterday. So that's super notable. I mean, if he's going to go out there and gain strokes putting, we know how good he is off the tee. We know that he's one of the best approach players in the world. He can certainly keep it together around the green. If he's going to gain strokes on the greens this week, guys, Luke List is winning this golf tournament. Or at the very least, going to finish runner-up to somebody like a Jon Rahm. He's just, when he has everything rolling like that, it's a hard beat, really, even for somebody like a Jon Rahm. I mean, Luke List's off the tee game is up there with those elite players. His approach plays among them as well. It's really just the putting that keeps him from being an elite PGA Tour player. And if he's going to gain 4 strokes around, good luck trying to beat him. Tom Hoagie, also going to be playing South Course. He's a fade. Same thing with Snedeker. Jonathan Vegas, very similar mold to a Matthew Wolff, long off the tee, high birdie or better percentage. Not the best putter on Poa and Nua, but I'm willing to give him a slack. He's playing on the easy golf course. Same thing with Keith Mitchell, who did not have the best start to his tournament. Mito Pereira, all 3 of these guys right here, Vegas, Mitchell, Pereira, essentially carbon copies of each other, all very solid plays on the North Course. Carlos Ortiz started out 3 over, so I kind of wrote him off. I thought he was done. Ended up getting it in under par, so clearly turned it around there on his second 9. Great course fit. Love the Poa Nua stats. Also relatively long off the tee, sneaky long, as they would say. Gary Woodland, don't hate it. Kevin Stroman, don't hate it either. It's not Gary. I don't know why I'm saying him. Gary. Wyndham Clark here at $7,000. You see awesome putter in Poa Nua. He has plenty of course history here at Torrey Pines. Has been first round leader here before and ended up having a really solid round at the South Course. He ended up getting to 3 under par. Now gets the easier of the 2 venues. I really like him again as well. Make sure you don't play Charlie Hoffman. Even though he withdrew, he is in the player pool on DraftKings for whatever reason. Ches Reavie at $6,700. You could convince me to play him. He's got the iron play we're looking for. Phil Mickelson, believe it or not, even though he had such a bad round today, he has still gone out there and have some good rounds. Like, he's gone out there and shot 6 or 7 under at a time. He hasn't competed ever since that PGA championship, but he still had spike rounds from time to time. So I'm not willing to completely write off Phil Mickelson, particularly because he's only $6,800 and he's won this event 3 times. He's from San Diego. He's played this golf course probably 1,000 times. I put a lot of stock into that, particularly for some of these 1-round type of sample sizes. Sebastian Munoz, Mr. Volatile, could see myself going there as well, relatively long off the tee. Also, decent on Poa Nua. We'd hope that to be a little bit higher, but he's at least not losing like somebody like a Hayden Buckley. But we got to talk about Hayden Buckley. Speaking of Hayden Buckley, $7,100. He had an amazing round over on the South Course today. I did not expect that. It's really a big boys type of golf course, right? You look for guys with experience that have been here before. Really, the higher pedigree players tend to play well here at Torrey Pines. And for a rookie like Hayden Buckley to be having the type of tournament that he is, especially if he continues it through the weekend, that is going to be a real eye-opener. I mean, the guy had already finished in the top 5 multiple times during the fall. If he finishes in the top 10 at Torrey Pines, you're not going to get Hayden Buckley at $7,000 anymore. He's going to be an $8,000 golfer going forward. So this might be the last time for you guys to buy in on Hayden Buckley. Just saying, because he gets the easy golf course here. He could very well go out there, shoot 7 or 8 under par tomorrow, and be near the lead. And that's where you're really going to start to get some steam, whether it's in the betting market or the DFS market. That's when a lot of that's going to start. You said, what's up, Luke? Missed the beginning of the stream. Willie Z, round 2, looking to go low tomorrow. Yeah, he's super chalky, though. So I'll go back up to him to show you what I'm talking about. I have him at 36% owned. So, I understand that everyone thinks that, right? So it's not like I don't think he's going to have a good round tomorrow. I have him projected for almost 52 fantasy points. I have him at 36% owned, and I have Scotty Shuffler at 18%. And Willie Z is not twice as likely to outscore Scotty Shuffler. So to me, it's a relatively straightforward math problem. I'm going to be playing Scotty Shuffler over him, but hey, couldn't fault you for going that way. He's a solid player. He's playing on the easy golf course too, right? So I have no problems with it, but I can't play everyone. So It really just comes down to that. Let's go down a little bit further down the board. Let's see. We were talking about Hayden Buckley here. 1 second. All right. Danny Lee. And I did see your comment about Peter Manadi. Speaking of Manadi, Danny Lee, similar player, right? Short off the tee, pretty decent putter for his career. Not the best on Poa and Nua. I don't believe Peter Manadi's that great on Poa and Nua either. Let's go ahead and double check on that. No, he's pretty decent on it. All right, take that back. Either way, though, shorter hitters, people that get it done with their approach play mostly. So I don't hate going to somebody like him, especially for one of these single round type of sample sizes. You can see him down here at $6,900. Let's see, Grayson Sigg, you could play. I don't really have much to say about him. He's an average play. He's playing the North Course. Vincent Whaley, somebody who pops from round to round. One of my favorite showdown targets because he does routinely post 6-7 under rounds. So he's at least got that positive volatility going for him. Harry Higgs, much like a Peter Manadi, gainer on Poa and Nua, relatively short hitter that can get it done at the North Course. So if he's going to come in super low owned, I could see myself going there. Same thing with Henrik Norlander, almost a picture perfect carbon copy of a Harry Higgs. Perhaps just a little bit more accurate off the tee than a Harry Higgs, but not quite the same putter. Joseph Bramlett, going to be the chalk of this range. We saw him come in chalky for round one. He was 3 over through 8 holes. I took 15% of Bramlett. I had like 2-3% more than the field. And I was going to be okay with him missing the cut, to be honest with you. I was going to be like, whatever. If that 12% ends up hitting the deck, I don't really mind that. A lot of people locked in Joseph Bramlett for whatever reason. I tried to make that clear that you shouldn't do that. I don't think anyone in our Discord, this community, went out and locked a Joseph Bramlett, but he's far from a lock. He's one of the, week in and week out, he's one of those guys I call dog shit, right? I hate to say that. Yeah, they're playing Bent. So I see what you're saying. So Mondravic, I agree. They're playing Bent Poa on the north, but it still is a Poa influence. So you see guys that do well in Bent Poa, highly correlated to guys that do well on Poa. I didn't want to go in and add the Bent Poa stats for everyone, but they're very highly correlated. Not exact 1-to-1, but people that gain on Poa Nua usually gain on Bent Poa because there is such a Poa influence there. So good call, good catch there. These Poa Nua numbers are a little bit more relevant for the guys playing the South Course, but I'm still willing to use them for the North Course as well. Let's move down a little bit further. Lee Yoda at $6,600. Shorter hitter, but he's a high birdie or better percentage type of guy. We saw him have a spike performance last week at the Amex. Could very well go and see that again. Pat Perez, this is his home course. They were talking about it on the broadcast today. His dad was actually the starter on hole number 1, which is interesting as well. So yeah, he used to actually work the range here. So I think that's of note. He used to work the range at Torrey Pines growing up. This guy's played 1,000 or 2 rounds here, right? He's playing the shorter golf course. Pat Perez is always complaining about golf courses being too long. So for giving him a short golf course, I expect him to take advantage of it. Sam Ryder, not the same type of player, more of a ball striking specialist, certainly has the distance off the tee, but he's got a really nice price there at $6,500. Also playing the North Course. We mentioned Manadi. I don't hate the play at all. Definitely really aggressive player. So if he has his game together, could definitely post a 7 or 8 under round. He has that in his range of outcomes. There's certainly players in this field that do not. Sepp Straka is one of the players that does have that in his range of outcomes. Real aggressive player, especially with his approach play. And yeah, that's really it for the player pool. These guys down low, a lot of them are playing the South Course. Skins, Lauer, Chappell, just guys that haven't been really playing that well. I'd rather take the more proven commodities, right? Like somebody like a Sepp Straka, potentially even going to somebody like a Manadi. I'd rather even go to somebody like a Tyler McCumber, believe it or not, right? Just people that have shown at least a little bit of form of late. I'm not just going to play them because they're playing the North Course, right? There has to be at least a little bit of there has to be something there to go off of, right? We can't just blindly play these guys. So where I got you in relation to Bermuda, both courses are similar. Bermuda, you mean like Bermuda Championship, Port Royal? I am kind of confused with what you're saying there. I think you're saying the Bermuda Championship. I would definitely agree for the shorter golf course, the South Course. They definitely at least a little bit remind me of that Bermuda Championship, the Port Royal golf course. Yeah, if you could clarify that down in chat, that would be awesome. let's go back up to the top. So let's talk a little bit about strategy before we get out of here. I'm not going to keep you guys too long. Obviously, this is a late night stream here, trying to get it in so you guys can watch this on replay. Has a little bit more shelf life, that sort of thing. But like I was saying at the beginning of the stream, if you guys got in here a little bit late, I'm not the biggest fan of trying to take just this chalky build, right? So the chalky build is going to be take one of these two guys up top, maybe a Dustin Johnson, go and take a Scotty Shuffler or Bozal Taurus, and then build maybe in the 7K range, right? People are a lot more familiar with these guys in the 7K range, particularly some of the casuals that are playing PGA DFS. And towards the beginning of the year, particularly at larger tournaments like this, there are going to be a lot of casuals. So that's why you'll see a lot of the ownership, fixated in that 7-8K range. Guys that the casual golf fan has actually heard of before. So what I'm going to be doing, right, is trying to be a little bit more aggressive. I know at the beginning I mentioned trying to take two of these stud options in the same lineup, taking a Dustin Johnson because he's only $9,600 and actually pairing him up with a Justin Thomas or John Rahm. That way you completely avoid this chalk range right here, and you're forced into taking some of these guys in the 6K range. When you're forced into taking some of these guys that are sub 2-3% owned, it's going to make your lineup a ton more unique. It's also going to give you a lot more leverage opportunities on the field. So that's how I'm going to be building a majority of my lineups. If I'm going to be taking anybody from this mid-tier range, I'll be taking the lowest owned option. That is a Scotty Shuffler at 18%. Definitely has upside. I'm looking to get at least a little bit of exposure to. A few other guys will be mixing in. If I don't want to take the two stud option build, and I'm going to try to be a little bit more balanced, I wouldn't be opposed to starting my lineups in the 8K range, taking somebody like a Mark Leishman and Taylor Gooch together, even Corey Connors, Patrick Reed, taking all 4, even 5 of these players here in the 8K range. I don't hate that idea. They're all relatively good course fits, more than capable of going out there shooting 7-8 under par tomorrow. Even if you start with just 2 or 3 of these guys in the 8K range, leave a little bit of salary on the table and finish it off with some of these 7K guys. I like that a lot more than just taking this mega chalk build, right? Certainly at least half my lineups are going to be in this mega chalk build, taking 2 or 3 of these stud options up top. But I'm having exposure to different type of builds for tomorrow, particularly if you're max entering or entering anywhere above, let's say 10 to 20 entries, is a good idea. It would be a good use of your net. Using a chalky build for all 20 of your lineups or all 150 of your lineups tomorrow just isn't efficient, right? You're putting yourself in a negative EV situation. You said no, the glasses in contrast. Not sure what you mean by that. I mean, Bermuda is like a completely different surface. Poa versus Bent Poa, the only reason I say they're slightly similar because Bent Poa surfaces are like 70% Poa. They're like 30% bent grass. The bent grass is meant to be a little bit cosmetic. It looks a little bit better. It usually makes the greens not look as like yellow. Usually they use a bent Poa combo when you have at least a pretty dry piece of land. It's usually just for cosmetic reasons. So that's why I say that they play pretty similarly. Bermuda grass, there's definitely big splits. I mean, there's guys that are really good on Bermuda and really bad on Poa. So maybe I'm misunderstanding you there. I'm not sure what you're going with. But Barry says fade round 2 and get lucky in the 7K range. I mean, I don't know. I don't hate it. I don't hate that idea, right? I mean, he's expensive. I'll give him that. I don't know. I don't have the stones to do that, though. He is 40% owned. So if you're just going to take the pure game theory angle here, I understand it, right? He's 40% owned. He's going to have to shoot 8 or 9 under tomorrow to guarantee himself to be optimal. We could have 5 or 6 guys tomorrow shoot 7 under, right? And it might not matter. You might not need to have John Rahm, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I could do that. If you do it, hats off to you. You definitely got more stones than I have there. All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to make a DraftKings lineup together. So I'm going to bring up DK, and yeah, we'll make a quick lineup or two together and hop on out of here. All righty, share my screen. And if you guys have any questions or anyone you want me to touch on before we hop on out of here, I am more than willing to do so. So on the screen here, you guys can see the player pool. And let's start off with a little bit of a GPP build. So let's go ahead and show you guys what it would look like if we try and take 2 of these stud options up top. So for this one, we're going to take DJ and Justin Thomas, the 2 lower owned option of the 3 guys up top. And you can see that leaves us immediately with $7,500 remaining. So if we wanted to go ahead and take at least one more middle tier option guy, we could probably go ahead and do so. My personal favorite would be a Mark Leishman. Even doing that leaves us with $7,100. So I don't hate that at all. In order to make sure we're not going to be chalky, I'm not going to go and take another option, though. I do believe that more people than not are going to try and live in this 8K range a little bit more. Let's try and be a little bit more balanced and take some pivots now with our last three. So like we said before, Luke List, he gained strokes on the greens today. If he goes and does that again tomorrow, could very well shoot 8, 9, even 10 under par. Definitely think he's a good idea. He's certainly not going to be a pivot. So with our last two options now, we know we're going to have to take people that are relatively low owned. So I'm going to go ahead and start that off right now with a Henrik Norlander. Henrik Norlander for GPPs gives you quite a bit of upside. He tends to pop, somebody who can go out there, get us a 7 or an 8 under round. I like the course fit over there for the North Course. Let's go ahead and wrap it up here with a Phil Mickelson. So this would certainly be a GPP type of build, far from a cash build, which we'll get to here in about 5 seconds. But all of these guys here playing the North Course, they're people that have popped from time to time and all played relatively good in round one. Outside Phil Mickelson, we're going to give him a little bit of a pass because he's a local. So really do like that type of build for a GPP, particularly if you're in a larger field type of contest. Now let's do a cash build. So if you're playing cash, you play Jon Rahm. There's no debating that. If you're playing cash, you need to be playing Jon Rahm. The next logical piece in would probably be going to either a Bozal Taurus or a Scotty Shuffler. Let's go ahead and take Bozal Taurus just because he's higher owned. And when we're in cash games, higher ownership is advantageous. That's a question I get all the time. Should I be looking for pivots in a cash contest? And the answer is no. You should be looking for the chalky players. Because when you're looking for a top 50th percentile type of performance, there is a higher opportunity cost in fading the chalk than actually just playing the chalk. When you play the chalk, you make your cash lineup more of an 8-on-8 rather than a 9-on-9, right? Depending on how many positions there are in golf, there's 6 positions. So if you take somebody that like a Jon Rahm, who in cash tomorrow is probably going to be 80, 90% owned, you're really just at a 5v5 with the rest of the field. It actually makes your analysis a little bit more straightforward. Gives you a higher chance at beating your opponents. When there's more spots in play, that adds a little bit more volatility, which means if you're making your projections the right way, you have an edge over the rest of the field. You want there to be less spots. So that's actually why golf's one of my favorite sports for cash, is because we only have 6 roster spots. It's less volatile inherently. So as long as your projections are on point, right? If you have shitty projections, it doesn't matter how many spots you have, you're going to lose across the board. But if you have projections that are giving you an edge over your opponents, having less roster spots is extremely advantageous. That's also why you want to play the chalk. Speaking of chalk, next chalky man in, playing on the North Course tomorrow. Let's see, a lot of this middle tier range, if you guys remember, are playing on the South Course. Mark Leishman, I wouldn't mind going there either. Very safe play, should easily get to something like a 4 or 5 under par tomorrow. Now getting into the 7K range. In terms of plays that we know are going to go out and be relatively safe, Carlos Ortiz makes a lot of sense. He was able to get it to even par despite playing on the hard course, and he's an excellent course fit. He might. I don't love Carlos Ortiz there, actually. Let's go ahead and take him out. He can blow up from time to time. So that's the only reason I don't want to put him in there. He's going to be relatively low owned, and he can blow up from time to time. But if we're just looking at pure medium projection, my projections would love him. But I'm not sure if I could tout them out there for you guys. It would be a little bit shaky. Kevin Streelman makes a little bit more sense. We'll be on the North Course. He's $7,100. He's extremely accurate with his ball striking, which gives him a relatively high floor. We have a little bit of salary here to work with. So let's see. Joaquin Neiman would make a lot of sense. Joaquin Neiman, very solid ball striker. Going to give him a very high floor. He's also playing on the North Course. And at $7,000, Wyndham Clark would probably be my first. Yeah, Wyndham Clark would be the move. In cash, you can see we're not dipping into that 6K range. Just not a reason to do so, right? You don't need to try and jam in 3 or 4 of those options at 8K plus. While that's nice for GPPs, it does give us a little bit more of that top end volatility. For cash games, that's not the goal. The goal is just to finish in the top 50%. So that's what I'd be going with over there on cash. If there's no questions down in chat, I'm going to go on and get out of here. Thank you guys for stopping by, enjoying the live stream. If you guys are watching this on replay, make sure to First off, like the video, also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything coming out in the future. And if you have any questions, do not be shy at all to go ahead and fire them down in the chat. I'll get to them as soon as I see them when I wake up, because I am going to bed in about 20 minutes. So good night, guys. Good luck for tomorrow with all of your lineups. I'll be doing any props on Prize Picks. Good luck with that as well. And let's get this cash.